Hey guys, and welcome back to Mycology with Mitch. In this video, I'd like to discuss a particularly eerie species of fungi, named for its appearance similar to the hand of a man who had been buried alive and is just breaking the ground surface. I'm of course referring to Xylaria Polymorpha, or the dead man's fingers. This type of fungi is found within the division Ascomycota. This sets it apart from the more common Basidiomycota species like the hemlock varnish shelf fungus I covered in the last video. The difference here is that ascomycetes, like the dead man's fingers, are sac fungi and produce their spores internally, while basidiomycetes, like all of these, produce their spores externally and drop them down via pores or gills. When I talk about the division of a mushroom, I'll likely only be referring to either Ascomycota or Basidiomycota. These both fall under the kingdom of fungi, and if you're familiar with the phylogenetic tree, you can just replace phylum with division. Phylum is used for the Animaliae kingdom, while division is used for the Plantae and Fungi kingdoms. Other notable members of the Ascomycota division include morels, truffles, and yeast. Unlike these, however, dead man's fingers are not edible, though in traditional Indian medicine, this fungus is dried, powdered, and mixed with sugar to make a mixture that is thought to promote lactation after childbirth. Dead man's fingers are found within the class Ceratiomycetes, the order Xylariales, the family Xylariaceae, the genus Xylaria, and the species Polymorpha. The genus name comes from the Greek word xyla, which just means wood, just like the word xylem, which is the innermost part of a tree. The species name, Polymorpha, comes from the extreme variability of this mushroom's shape. This mushroom is saprobic, which means that it will work to decay dead wood, though the way in which it does so is somewhat unique. Unlike other saprobic species, this mushroom doesn't consume the soft cellulose or the tougher lignin layers of wood, but instead focuses on the polysaccharide compounds which bind cellulose and lignin together into wood. When it's done, what's left is an extremely nutrient-rich pile of organic matter. It decays wood not only on the surface, but also the root system below, which adds to this appearance of fingers shooting up from the ground. This is a mushroom I've actually encountered on two separate occasions. This first sample I found and collected was in September of 2022 and was fully mature. While this sample I found and collected just recently in May 2024, which was much more immature. This most recent one I found growing on top of and around a highly decayed moss-covered tree stump. The mushroom was decaying the stump itself, and the fingers growing around the stump were decaying the roots. As you can see, the mushroom has a fairly distinctive appearance, being vaguely similar to a blackened, rotting hand emerging from the ground. The fruiting body of this species, called the stromata, is often club-shaped, but this can vary as the species name implies. It often comes up in 3 to 6 digits, which can sometimes appear to be fused together. Underneath the blackened, wrinkled skin of this mushroom is a tough white flesh. In terms of size, these will grow to be from 1 to 4 inches tall. The stromata starts off white when it's immature and grows to be the better-known black color as it grows to maturity. The white color comes from being initially covered in immature asexual spores, while the mature black color comes from being covered in pores which hold spores that are ready to spread. The immature form will grow in spring, while the mature form will persist from summer through the fall. If you're able to take a spore print of this species, it will show up black, and if you were able to look at the spores under a microscope, you'd find that they were narrow, spindle-shaped, and flat on one side. For those of you not aware, a spore print is basically what it looks like when you allow the spores of a mushroom to fall directly downward onto something. If anyone wants it, I might make a separate video on taking spore prints, but basically it's done by allowing the spore-producing parts of a mushroom to drop spores down onto something like a piece of paper. After it's been allowed to do this for a while, you'll be able to see the color and pattern of the spores that the mushroom produces, much like this one. As far as range goes, this species can be found across 6 continents, excluding Antarctica. In North America, it's typically found east of the Rocky Mountains, in woodland areas growing beneath dead hardwoods, most commonly beech trees. There are only a few species which can claim to be mistaken for dead man's fingers, and they are the following. Xylaria hypoxylon, or the candle snuff fungus, is whiter in both stages of maturity and seems to branch out far more than dead man's fingers. Xylaria longipes, or stalked Xylaria, is more slender and usually has a thin stalk at the base. Interestingly, this species is also thought to improve the quality of wood used in string instruments. Geoglossum deforme and Trichoglossum hirsutum, or the common and velvety earth tongue respectively, both have a more flattened tongue-like section. Common earth tongue is glossy and may even be slimy on the surface, while velvety earth tongue has stiff hairs coming from the head and stalk. Well, if you've listened this far, you know pretty much everything I do about dead man's fingers. If there's more interesting things you know about this species, let me know in the comments, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks, and I'll see you next time for more Mycology with me.